Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ketogenic Fasting Project. My name is Tom. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the testing I've been doing. For one, I recently did a full body scan and a coronary artery calcium score, and I thought it'd be helpful to talk about it. It's kind of related to carnivore. Of course, this is a ketogenic fasting project, but I've been eating a whole meat diet for about 17 months. And of course, one of the questions on a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet is, aren't you going to clog up your arteries? Aren't you going to get, CHD or coronary heart disease because you're eating all this saturated fat and animal protein and so on and so forth? So one of the ways you can know is by having something done called a coronary artery calcification scan. I thought I had this all adjusted and I didn't. There we go. Trying to get to the controls here at the bottom so I can go to the next slide. Anyways, when you eat like this all the time, I'm not actually eating that cut of meat right now. Those are some nice fatty beef short ribs. I think it's fair for people to wonder, if this is going to contribute to heart disease, because that's what we've been told for decades and decades before I was born. This started. So, anyways, I learned about this guy here. Not cooperating. Second time I recorded this video and it went so much smoother the last time. I just forgot something. So anyways, this is Ira Cummins. He's also known as the Fat Emperor. You can find him at thefatemperor.com. And his job is basically to make people aware of this coronary artery calcium scan. The idea is that you go get the scan and then you can see if there's plaque in the arteries, because the machine picks up the calcium that's laid down on top of it. So when you go get the scan, you can know how likely you are to have a heart attack or heart disease or something like that. So in most places it costs about $100 in the U.S. So I had to pay $150 for mine. It's more expensive where I live. It's just how it is. But you consider the cost of what it might cost to be on a statin drug every month for a year. It's probably more than $150. I don't know what people, some people get it through insurance and the copay brings it down. But I know one time I was overseas with a friend, and his friend bought a bunch of statin there because it was cheaper. It was the same name brand statin. I think it was Crestor, but it might have been one of the other ones. But anyways, he bought a 6-month supply over there because he was saving so much money. It was cheaper than he could get it at home. I think he lived in Colorado. So anyways, he spent more on that 6-month supply there in another country than I did on my heart scan. So you could probably see the value of that and just having a good idea whether you're going to die or not. So anyways, look for Ira Cummins. Go to his website or find him on YouTube. He has lots of fantastic videos. The guy has a phenomenal Irish accent. I never get tired of listening to it. The way he pronounces things, the way he enunciates, just is great. Everybody around here talks the same, so it's nice to hear something a little different. And this is the movie The Widowmaker that Ivar's boss had, made. It explains a lot about the scan, why people should get it, and all kinds of stuff. You can learn about stents and why different people get heart disease and don't. It's a really great movie. I think you can watch the hour-long version on YouTube for free. If you want to watch the full version, it's like $2. You could probably watch the free version right there at widowmaker.com. So, anyways, I highly recommend it for anybody who's the least bit concerned about their health, or their doctors recommended going on statins, and they're hesitant about it, or perhaps their doctor recommended it and you haven't been taking it and you decide whether you should take it or not, or maybe you had some side effects. A lot of people get muscle pain. Eventually, most people get some sort of cognitive decline, and their memory starts going. Because when you take a drug that lowers cholesterol production, um, you're messing with your liver, first of all, because only a small percentage of what you eat is the circulating cholesterol in your blood. And LDL is really a particle. It's kind of like a delivery truck that delivers stuff like fatty acids and cholesterol around the body. But your body needs cholesterol and it needs LDL, and they are not actually the culprits. So if you can figure out why you're having heart disease, or even if you have heart disease, you might be able to address it rather than just blindly taking a drug. It's like going in a doctor and you say you're sick and they don't know what's wrong with you, but they give you an antibiotic. They're not even sure if you have an infection, but they give you an antibiotic, and that may not be a good thing. If you could figure out what the real problem was, you might treat it some other way, right? So why mess with your liver? Your liver is awfully important. It has a lot of functions. And like I said, you need the LDL and you need the cholesterol. Every cell in your body has a large component of cholesterol. So without good cholesterol, you're going to die. So anyways, in fact, the longest lived people have the highest LDL levels. So uh, just getting your cholesterol down isn't necessarily a good idea, because the LDL does a lot of stuff. It helps fight infections and stuff like that. So it's not really a good idea to suppress those things, when the real issue is, do you have heart disease? So if you want to know if you have heart disease, you can make an appointment and go onto one of these fancy machines. It's almost worth the money just to do it. What this machine does is it takes high-speed X-rays, makes tiny little slices, and creates images so that they can see inside your arteries, and it will see the calcium that's embedded on the top of the plaque, or in the plaque, in the arteries, right? So once you have that done, you'll get a report that looks something like this. In my case, I had a score of 8. Now, the people could have scores into the thousands. I know I've seen scores all the way up into the 3,000s. I don't really know how high it goes, but if you have a score that's 3,000, even 2,000 or 1,000, you have heart disease. So, anyways, mine is 8, and the basic explanation of any score less than 10 is that you have less than a 10% chance of having heart disease. So my risk is pretty low. That being said, I'm on a PKD diet. I'm being advised by Paleo Medicina, which is a specialty clinic in Hungary, and they're pretty optimistic about me reversing this score in about a year's time to nothing. So it is reversible. I'm sure there's other ways of reversing it. I know just not being on an inflammatory diet and getting rid of the inflammation in the arteries, the body oftentimes will remove the plaque and recirculate or recycle those materials elsewhere once the injury that attracted the plaque to begin with heals up. So anyways, I'll probably repeat this scan in a year and see what happened, and hopefully it's all gone, and then my risk goes down to next to nothing. So you can have a heart attack for other reasons, but the other reasons are typically very unusual, very rare. So it's basically clogged arteries, clogged coronary arteries, that are a real problem. So anyways, this next sheet just kind of has a graph kind of explaining all that. I'm sure it's not all that clear in this video, but you can look up CAC scores online. You can watch some Ira Cummings videos. He'll explain it. He's done many videos, excellent videos. So if you have any concern about heart disease or how your diet's affecting your coronary arteries, definitely watch some Ivor Cummins, the Fat Emperor, and the Widowmaker movie. I highly recommend them. So it really can't hurt anybody to understand these things better. So in addition, I do a lot of blood work, which I talk about from time to time, including cholesterol and all that. And before I had this heart scan, I also asked my healthcare provider what they could do. They do not offer the coronary artery calcium test, the scan, as it were. They don't do that there. So I had to go outside to do that. But what they could do was an ultrasound of the heart and the carotid arteries. Now, with my copay and then the bill they sent me later, it cost me at least $600. And the calcium artery or the coronary artery calcium score test was only about $100 to $150. And to be honest with you, I didn't really learn much from the ultrasound. They could have seen something abnormal, but they didn't. And I've learned more from the technician when I was in there that they can't really see into the heart very well or the coronary arteries very well in adults because there's so much tissue in the way. Your rib cage and fascia and all the muscle and fat and stuff like that's in the way. So they can't really see that much. They can see some abnormalities, but it's not really typically going to give you a good idea whether you have any blockage or not. It might, because they do see flow, and they can see, it's pretty interesting to watch. And it's not that I regret doing it, but I think it's pretty clear that the money would have been better spent just getting a calcium heart score to begin with. So the facility I went to and paid for out of pocket was not covered by my insurance. They also offer a full body scan. It's done in the same machine at the same time. It probably takes another 5 minutes or whatever. These scans are very quick. It probably takes longer to get on the table and all lined up and all that than it does to actually do the scan. Now, the scan does have some risk because they are using radiation. But as I recall, the dose of radiation is something like 1 millisievert. And, we're talking about something comparable to maybe taking a long flight, at 30,000 feet or 35,000 feet or whatever. So it's not a tremendous amount of radiation. And there are some people out there who've had like 20 or 30 of these scans. So, especially people with heart disease. And when you're staring, heart failure or heart attack in the face, you're going to probably assess the risk of the small doses of radiation as being a lot less than all the drugs and all the other stuff you have to deal with heart disease. So it's a pretty easy trade-off for most people, but it's certainly worth being aware of the fact that you are exposing yourself to radiation. And in my case, I'm probably going to repeat this test in a year. And I had the full body scan, and I did drink a barium contrast solution, which was quite apparently loaded with a lot of sugar, and I haven't had any sugar in a long time. So it didn't really affect me that negatively to begin with. But I went to the gym later that day, and all of a sudden I just ran out of steam, and I was like, well, what's going on? I was lifting, and then I had a lot of muscle pain almost immediately after, which was really unusual. And it kind of hung around, and I think it was just all that sugar. I wasn't used to. I think I had a lot of sugar going through my system, and when I ran out of energy and stopped lifting, I think I left a lot of that fuel in the muscles, and they just got really sore. But it's not the end of the world. It was worth it. So when you get the test results for the full body scan, they look at your brain and your aorta and your heart, which is all very important. Look at your liver and your spleen and your pancreas, your adrenal glands, your prostate, your bladder. They look for, excuse me, free fluids and free air in the bowels. They look at your spine. In my case, they notice some degeneration and where it was, some disc compression or loss of height in the disc, and arthritis and stuff like that, which I knew I had, but oddly enough, my back hasn't bothered me in a long time because, I started a ketogenic diet in early 2017 and went carnivore at the end. And somewhere when I was on the ketogenic diet, my back just stopped hurting, my arthritis went away, and really, right now my focus first off is to get rid of the psoriasis. You can see that there. That's what all those spots are. You see on my arms. I also have it on my legs. I used to have it on my torso, but it's not so much on my torso anymore, my arms and legs. And even though I've been on a carnivore diet, it didn't quite go away, and it would go through cycles where it would flare up. And it's pretty bad stuff, and I didn't really want to start taking the pharmaceuticals for it. And because I had such a great success with getting rid of the arthritis and feeling so much better, I really wanted to give the dietary route a chance. And the experts at that is the Paleo Medicina. They have the track record. So I kind of tried to figure out what they did on their diet, and then one day I realized I could just consult. I could ask them for help, get the information direct from them. So that's what I'm doing now. So, anyways, my back doesn't bother me in spite of what the report said about my spine. And they look at the hip joints. They also found in me hernias. I have a malrotated kidney with some abnormalities, which is consistent with a birth defect I didn't know I had. In the gallbladder, of course, I had some gallstones I didn't know about. And in my right lung, I have a nodule. It appears to be a nodule left over from chronic inflammation, which I'm not terribly surprised about, because before I went carnivore, even when I was a little kid, I ran out of air all the time. And I think it was just my diet. I think I just had inflammation in the lungs, and a lot of that. I always had bad allergies and hay fever and sneezing and stuffed up nose. And so now I breathe much better. I have way more stamina. I don't run out of air when I'm trying to do something real strenuous like I did. So I wouldn't be surprised if I did have chronic inflammation, and that's where this nodule in my lung came from. My healthcare provider is going to do a follow-up scan on it in 6 months, see if it's changed. So that was one thing. Once I forwarded the information from the body scan and the CAC scan to my healthcare provider, they are going to follow up on it, but they don't do it. They don't pay for it, but they will treat you if you find something. Another thing they found out surprisingly is some diverticulosis in the sigmoid colon. I had no idea I had this problem. The folks at Paleo Medicina feel pretty confident it's just from my previous high carbohydrate, typical diet. I would say that my diet before I went keto I thought was good. It wasn't just a typical, American diet, sad diet, Western diet, or whatever. I was pretty adamant about, I ate a lot of egg whites. I ate a lot of vegetables. I ate lean chicken breast. I ate a lot of quinoa and basmati rice and apples and bananas and oranges and stuff like that. Cherries, berries, I didn't drink milk, I did drink coffee, and I did have some cream in my coffee and stuff like that, but I used cream, So my diet, I used to go to the gym 5 days a week until, my arthritis was terrible, went through a big life change, and had to kind of throw in the towel. So that's what I was eating then. I did a lot of protein shakes too, whey isolate and stuff like that. I ate a lot of salads. So somehow, that didn't work. And I got sicker and sicker and fatter and arthritic, and I didn't feel good. I had trouble waking up in the morning, the usual brain fog. And keto knocked out 75% of that. And then carnivore was even better. The surprising thing about being on the PKD diet is that you're actually trying to get into a state of nutritional ketosis, which means your blood levels of ketones or beta hydroxybutyrate are at least 2.0. And when I was on regular keto, that wasn't a big deal. I could get my ketones up, no problem. But I was eating a lot more plant material, a lot of coconut oil. I'll just first admit it, I loved MCT oil in my coffee. I put butter or the MCT oil in my coffee, and I loved how it made me feel. It was great. It really lights your brain up. But on the diet I'm on now, I don't eat anything from a plant except some coffee. And so that's all out. And I'm eating a lot of beef fat. I'm basically eating beef fat, beef, bone marrow, liver, and brains. There's other things you can eat on this diet, but that's what I'm eating. And I've had a tough time really getting those ketones up to 2.0. I haven't hit 2.0 yet. So, and my morning glucose is higher than the target. And nobody really knows how long it's going to take to hit that target, but I try to get my morning glucose down to 80. So, in the afternoon it'll be like 70, but in the morning when I wake up it's usually like 90 to about 107. Sometimes I wake up and it's 107. I was like, well, how does that happen? But we found a pattern where if I went and I was lifting the day before, the next morning my glucose would be high. And that's probably just from the body replenishing glycogen stores in the muscles. So it's making glucose, pumping out glucose being converted into glycogen or something like that. So I have to kind of curtail the weightlifting, and even when I was advised to stop the weightlifting, I was like, well, I'll just do some push-ups, and I did probably only 150 push-ups, and I'd worked my way up to like 300. I did this challenge with my cousin, and I'd gotten up to like 150 or 300 push-ups and like 300 squats, something like that. So I figured, half that, just doing 50 wouldn't be a big deal, but it pushed my blood sugar up. So, anyways, I gotta lay low until I get my levels right, which I'm perfectly happy to do because it'd be very, very worth it not to have all this freaking psoriasis everywhere. I mean, I see these up here have been pretty bad. So, and I've said this many times. The psoriasis used to be so bad on my torso. I'd get ready for work in the morning, take a shower, put clean clothes on, and my girlfriend was like, "You're bleeding through your clothes all over the place. You gotta change clothes." I used to stick Band-Aids all over and all these ointments and stuff. And all the stuff they gave me never cured anything. It just kind of would tame down the swelling or whatever. And if I took any sort of NSAIDs or painkillers or anything for my arthritis, my psoriasis just go crazy. So it's well worth it to me to lay off the workouts. I'll get back to them soon enough, and I'm very happy with the restricted diet because I don't go hungry. I feel good, and I would say it's been about 15 days on this diet. I think technically we're getting close to 18. This will be like the 18th day. But the first 2 or 3 days are kind of throwaway days because I was, I had to go out and get the right food, and I had a little of the wrong food laying around, and so until I, got everything dialed in, I was still eating some of the meats that I wasn't supposed to be eating on this diet. So anyways, the compliance in the first few days is a little rough, so you might as well throw them out. But if you count the last 15 days, I lost a total of 12.8 pounds. So we didn't even discuss weight loss when I started consulting with the Paleo Medicina. So that's a nice surprise, you know. I'm getting leaner on this diet, so the first couple of days of weight loss could be just water, but since I wasn't eating carbohydrates prior to this, then it probably wasn't a lot of water. So, anyways, I think I just about covered everything. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think I got through most of the slides. I was going to show a couple slides of like, these are, you know, cholesterol charts and stuff like that. But I did a PEG 400 test, which tests the intestinal permeability, which is kind of the source of a lot of autoimmune diseases. And I'll be doing a lot of blood work this coming week. A number of the blood tests that they requested me to do at Paleo Medicina aren't offered by my my healthcare provider, and I've kind of exhausted the amount of the blood tests that they'll do for me, because with all my experimenting with diet and exercise and everything, I've begged, borrowed, and stole every test I could from them, and so they won't be doing, my healthcare provider probably won't be doing too many tests for me in the near future. But if you have any concerns about heart disease, definitely look up Ira Cummins, the Fat Emperor. Check out that movie, The Widowmaker. I know it's on YouTube. It's on widowmaker.com. It's probably on Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that. If you're concerned about, you know, heart disease, cancer, autoimmune disease, get in touch with the people at Paleo Medicina and see if they can help you. And imagine correcting some serious problems with just your diet, not having to worry about medications and side effects and the expense. I mean, this diet, I probably spend less on food now than I did before, and I'm not buying any medicine, you know. So I am going to be spending a fair amount of money on tests, but it won't be that many tests. The first round will probably be the most expensive, you know, I don't know, a couple $100, something like that. I'll know when I get there. But, and then after that, there won't be as many tests because, you know, some of these things won't need to be monitored. So anyways, I appreciate you watching. I hope this helps somebody out there. Please pass these videos along to other people. It really helped me if you subscribe. I know I'm somewhere in the ballpark of 200 subscribers, and it'd be really helpful if I got up to 1,000. So if you could subscribe and give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know how these videos could be better, or if you have any questions, or if you just have to send me some hate mail, that's all right too. All right, take care. Feel better.